My father poisoned my glass. He thought no one saw. I stayed silent. The Miami heat pressed down on the yard. Folding tables shook when guests leaned too hard. Bud Light cans sweated on the cooler packed with ice. The grill smoked heavy, drowning the flowers. A Publix pie still sat in the box. The DJ cursed at his mic, static bursting. I held the glass and waited. That glass will return in a courtroom. My brother Mark raised his glass too early. He said loud. The first dance looked forced. Even the DJ noticed. My wife Emily stood beside him at the bar. She smiled in his direction, not in mine. Laughter rolled across the tables. Someone repeated Mark's words. Others nodded. I stored it all in memory. The tag from a Walmart shirt scratched my neck. Keys from my old Ford F-150 rattled in my pocket. Plastic forks bent before they were used. I felt out of place in my own suit. The guests turned toward my father, David. Someone said, "Say something, David. He's your son." David adjusted his cap and stared at the grill. He stared. He stared longer. He didn't blink. He muttered about heat and meat. Not about me. Not about Mark's words. No answer. No help. No shame. My mother Sarah twisted her ring on her finger. Her face turned pale. Her eyes gave her away. She stayed silent. A sedan pulled up by the gate. A man in a light jacket stepped out with a folder. He walked through the tables and asked, "Where's the groom?" Someone pointed at me and laughed. He checked the name, then nodded. He handed me an envelope stamped Wells Fargo. The guests buzzed louder. Someone whistled. "Even on your wedding day they found you," a man joked. Mark smirked and lifted my glass higher. Emily leaned close and whispered something to him. Laughter swelled again. I said nothing. That envelope will open again. But in another hall. I opened the flap before I tucked it away. Inside was a receipt dated yesterday. Yesterday, before the vows. Before the rings. They'd signed behind my back. I kept it in memory. Angry? Yes. Show it? No. Forget? Never. I slipped the envelope into my inside pocket. The suit was cheap, sleeves too short, fabric pulling. But it held the weight of the paper. Guests craned their necks to see. Not one asked who signed those papers. Not one asked why the date was set before the wedding. Mark raised the glass and drank deep. Emily touched his arm and smiled. Within a minute his face went gray. He clutched his throat and dropped the glass. It shattered on the concrete. Screams split the night. "Call 911!" someone yelled by the stage. Guests stumbled, music cut. Emily screamed louder, but clung to Mark, not to me. My father David froze by the grill. He stared. He stared longer. He didn't blink. He couldn't understand what went wrong. It was his plan. But not his glass. My mother Sarah twisted her ring harder. She paled further and turned away. She knew. She was part of it. And still, she left me standing. The ambulance siren echoed minutes later. Mark lay on the grass as paramedics rushed in. Guests crowded, some lifted phones. Emily wept over him, her hands gripping his shirt. I stood apart. I stayed silent. Tonight they laughed at me. Tomorrow they'll fight each other for survival. They poisoned my glass. They didn't know I poisoned the night. The siren wailed. Keys rattled in my pocket. The morning after, I drove down US 1. Keys from my old Ford F-150 rattled in the cup holder. The seat creaked under me, torn leather sticking to my shirt. Coffee from 7-Eleven sat lukewarm on the dash. The gas light was on. 20 miles left. That glass from the wedding stayed in my head. The Miami sun beat harder than the night before. Sweat pooled under the Walmart shirt collar. My hands smelled like motor oil from yesterday's shift. I gripped the wheel tighter than needed. Publix bag half open on the passenger seat. Milk sweating in the carton. At Wells Fargo, the clerk smiled thin. Her nails tapped the counter in rhythm. She slid the same papers across the desk. The signature wasn't mine. The ink pressed deep, like he wanted it carved. The date read 1 day before the wedding. "Everything in order," she said flat. I stared at the line. I said nothing. "Those papers will surface again. With the right stamp." Back home, Mark's car sat crooked in the drive. Emily's purse lay open on the passenger seat. Fast food wrappers stacked on the dash. They were inside, laughing loud enough for neighbors to hear. My mother Sarah stood at the sink. She picked at a crack in the counter until her nail broke. She pressed it against her apron. Her lips moved. No sound came. My father David sat in his chair by the door. The TV showed static. He leaned forward. Adjusted the volume. Nothing played. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. Mark walked out first. He said, "Don't look so serious. It's family business." Emily followed, silent but smiling. Neighbors waved at them, beer in hand. Nobody asked why sirens came the night before. Angry? Yes. Show it? No. Forget? Never. The next day, a letter slipped under my door. No stamp. No address. Inside, a copy of the same receipt. My name scratched wrong. Mark's handwriting clear on the witness line. A grease stain in the corner. His. Emily's ring tucked in the fold. The ink smeared. The fold was sharp. I kept it. That letter will bury them before it buries me. I folded it, tucked it behind a utility bill. The light above flickered. The fridge hummed steady. Kids biked past the window. They laughed. Not at me. Not yet. Emily called once. She said, "It's done. Don't touch it." Then she hung up. The silence pressed heavier than words. It wasn't weakness. It was weight. The kind they couldn't carry. They thought silence meant surrender. It doesn't. The fridge hummed. The bulb flickered. A dog barked twice. Then silence. The house waited. So did I. I drove out before sunrise. The Ford F-150 groaned on the turn. The gas pump clicked once at 7-Eleven. I paid cash. The receipt crumpled in my pocket. I kept it. The glass from the wedding was gone. The letter wasn't. At my job site, drywall dust clung to my boots. I stepped past it, straight to the locker. Inside, an envelope with my name scratched wrong. No return. No seal. Just more copies of the same contract. Same date. Same forged mark. The ink cut deep. I checked the bottom corner. Mark's initials crooked. Rushed. Emily's last name as witness. They thought no one would notice. I did. At lunch, I sat alone. Publix sandwich half wrapped in foil. The bread stale. The meat dry. Coffee filter still damp in the sink at home. I remembered it. Others laughed at a table nearby. One pointed at the news on his phone. Headline: Family Holdings Secure Major Transfer. Mark's photo under it. Emily beside him. No mention of me. I kept scrolling. The next day, I checked the county clerk's office. Records stacked high. Papers smelled like dust and ink. The clerk stamped each page without looking. She slid a folder across the desk. "Witness signatures verified," she said flat. I traced the lines with my finger. They pressed harder than needed. The ink cut deep. Those signatures will carve their way into evidence. Back at the house, the driveway was full. Mark's car. Emily's sedan. Music loud through the windows. Neighbors across the street sat in lawn chairs. One waved. He didn't ask. My mother Sarah stood in the doorway. She picked at a crack in the counter until her nails split. She pressed it against her apron. Her lips moved. No sound came. My father David sat by the table. Remote in hand, volume high. The TV showed a game rerun. He nodded at nothing, like it was live. He didn't look at me. Mark raised a bottle. He said, "It's done. Ours now." Emily leaned against his shoulder. "They toasted without me? Angry?" "Yes." "Show it?" "No." "Forget?" "Never." Later, I found a check stub on the floor. Dated 2 weeks back. My name scratched out. Marks written in. The ink fresh. The paper warm. I folded it. I kept it. That stub will matter more than their laughter. I left the room without a word. The papers weighed heavy. My silence heavier. They thought forged ink made them stronger. It didn't. The fridge hummed. The light buzzed. A truck backfired once outside. A pizza flyer curled on the porch. I waited. I parked the Ford outside Wells Fargo. The heat pressed against the glass. The AC wheezed, blowing warm air. My hands smelled like paper and dust. The check stubs sat in my pocket. Mark walked out of the branch. Shirt pressed. Tie crooked. Phone in his hand, smile too wide. Emily trailed behind him, sunglasses on. Her purse stuffed, zipper half open. I didn't move. He saw me first. He said, "You look tired. Stay home." I said nothing. Inside, the clerk waved him off. She slid another folder across the counter. More papers. More stamps. His initials fresh on the corner. Her name underneath. They signed fast, like it didn't matter. Those papers will matter more than they know. Mark tapped the hood of my truck as he passed. He said, "It's done. Don't push." Emily smiled thin, eyes behind glass. They walked toward their car. I stayed in the seat. The stub pressed against my leg. The ink bled faint on the fold. I remembered every line. Later, I drove past the courthouse. Steps wide. Doors heavy. Flags snapped in the wind. People carried folders under their arms. None of them looked at me. Back home, the driveway was empty. A pizza box leaned against the trash can. Grease bled through the cardboard. A newspaper lay damp on the steps. Flies hovered, waiting. My mother Sarah stood by the sink. She rinsed a glass, wiped it twice. Her lips moved. No sound came. My father David sat by the window. Remote in hand. TV black this time. He stared longer than needed. Still no words. I opened the stub again. Their names, their marks. Wrong dates. Wrong lines. Each stroke deeper than the last. Angry? Yes. Show it? No. Forget? Never. I folded it once more. Slid it into a folder of my own. Notarized copies. Certified dates. Every page lined up in order. Evidence, not anger. They thought signing fast erased me. It didn't. The fridge hummed. The bulb flickered. A siren wailed in the distance. Then it faded. The house stayed quiet. I did too. The hall smelled of cheap beer and cologne. Folding chairs scraped the floor when people shifted. Plastic tables bent under trays of food. Publix pies still in their boxes, untouched. Bud Light cans sweating on the counter. A cheap speaker buzzed near the DJ table. The ice machine rattled behind the bar. Mark took the microphone first. He said, "To family. To what's ours." The room clapped as if on cue. Glasses lifted. Voices rose. Emily laughed loud beside him. Her hand brushed his sleeve. Her ring caught the light, bright and hard. I sat near the end of the table. Paper plate in front of me. Burger bun soggy, fries limp and cold. I chewed once. Left the rest. The napkin stuck to the ketchup. No one offered a fresh plate. Their words would weigh. Not mine. My mother Sarah passed by me. She fixed place cards that were already straight. She wiped a clean glass with a dry towel. She whispered something under her breath. No sound I could catch. My father David sat across. Cap low over his eyes. He tugged the brim and watched the table. Someone said, "Say something, David." It's your son! He didn't lift his eyes. He didn't open his mouth. He looked past me to the buffet. Mark raised the mic again. He said, "Some work. Some watch. We know." The room broke into laughter. Chairs rattled. Hands slapped the table. Emily leaned into his shoulder and smiled. The DJ grinned, then turned the volume up. I kept my eyes on my plate. Angry? Yes. Show it? No. Forget? Never. I reached down. Touched the folder beside my chair. Pages lined in order. Dates stamped clear. Signatures pressed deep. Every lie copy clean. Notarized copies separated with tabs. Evidence stacked where they couldn't see. Aunt Linda walked by and tapped Mark's back. Same joke every year. Someone muttered near the door. A kid pointed his phone at the stage. Another kid ran into a chair and laughed. The mic squealed. Mark grinned wider. Emily whispered something, and he laughed again. Neighbors clapped, proud to belong. Nobody looked my way. The bartender slid more Bud Light down the bar. A Walmart receipt hung out of a tip jar. Claps fade faster than ink. Kids ran between the tables, chasing each other. One spilled soda near my chair. The stains spread dark across the floor. Napkins stuck to the puddle. Shoes dragged it wider. Nobody cleaned it. They stepped over it, still laughing. Sarah folded a stack of programs that needed no folding. She kept her head down and moved her mouth. No words came out. David stood, shifted, and sat back down. His eyes stayed down. His jaw stayed tight. No answer. No help. No shame. I took one fry, cold and bent. Left it on the plate. Lifted my glass, empty. Didn't drink. Didn't smile. The DJ called for a cheer again. They cheered. I watched. Mark shouted into the mic. Smile for the camera. Emily lifted her phone. Flash popped once, harsh and quick. Her smile wide. His wider. Mine absent. The DJ shouted, "Perfect!" and clapped. That photo will hang. Briefly. The music cut for a second. The room fell quiet. Forks clinked, voices hushed. Somebody coughed near the doorway. Then the laughter came back, louder than before. They thought it was their night. They thought it would stay their night. They thought the microphone was theirs. It wasn't. The fridge hummed in the back room. The light buzzed overhead. A bottle rolled off the table and hit the floor. Napkins floated in the spilled soda. Shoes crunched against them. The ice machine kicked on and growled. I didn't move. The house smelled of grease and soda from the night before. Plastic cups stacked on the counter. Napkins soggy, pressed into the sink. Publix pie half-cut, drying at the edges. The fridge hummed steady. Mark's voice echoed in my head. Some work. Some just watch. The words stuck harder than the laughter. I folded them into memory, with the rest. In the morning, kids rode past the house. One pointed at the trash cans. Pizza box on top, flies circling. Grease bled through cardboard onto the driveway. They laughed, not knowing why. I opened the folder on the table. Pages lined clean. Receipts tucked in order. Dates one after another. Each stamp pressed deeper than the last. Those stamps will speak louder than their toasts. Emily called again. Her voice softer this time, almost careful. She said, "Let it go. It's already settled." The line cut. No goodbye. I saved it. That afternoon, Sarah stood at the stove. She stirred a pot that didn't boil. Her lips moved, whispering something only she heard. Her ring turned round and round, silver catching light. David sat by the door. Cap low. Remote in hand. The TV played a weather report. He nodded at rain that wasn't falling. He didn't look at me. Mark arrived late. Car tires crunched on gravel. He walked in with no knock. Emily close behind, smile fixed. They carried folders of their own. Signed. Sealed. Wrong. Mark dropped them on the table. He said, "Done deal. No going back." Emily leaned on the chair. She said nothing. Her smile said enough. I touched the check stub in my pocket. The ink smeared faint against the fold. Every mark was theirs, not mine. Every lie pressed deeper. Angry? Yes. Show it? No. Forget? Never. That night, Chloe came to me. Her voice low, careful. She said, I heard them talking. About money. About you. She held a page she'd pulled from the trash. Emily's name. Mark's initials. The date scratched wrong. Her hands shook when she gave it to me. I folded it. Kept it with the rest. Her eyes searched mine. I said nothing. Silence was safer. That page will weigh more than her whispers. Back in the kitchen, Sarah wiped the counter clean. She pressed too hard, cloth tearing. David stared at the dark TV. His hand shook, but he held the remote tight. Still no words. I stacked the pages. One on another. Folder thick, heavy. More weight than their laughter. More weight than their glass. They thought piling papers buried me. It didn't. The fridge hummed. The bulb flickered. A dog barked once outside. Then a car door slammed. The night pressed quiet. I stayed still. The hall smelled of polish and paper. Steps echoed against tile. Folding chairs lined the back. Flags hung heavy, colors faded. The clock ticked louder than the voices. I carried the folder in my hand. Edges worn. Pages thick. Receipts folded. Stubs tucked. Dates stamped. Names pressed. Every line in order. Mark stood at the front. Tie straight. Smile wide. Emily sat beside him. Her purse closed this time. Her hands tied on the strap. Sarah whispered near the aisle. Her ring turned once, twice. She looked down. No words. David sat stiff in the row. Cap low. Remote left at home. His eyes stayed forward. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. The clerk called the case. Papers slid across the table. My name scratched wrong. Their marks fresh. Dates 1 day early. The ink pressed deep. I laid mine beside theirs. Receipts clean. Stubs signed. Notarized. Certified. Every mark aligned. Every lie revealed. Chairs creaked. Hands tightened on folders. Mark's smile cracked. Emily's eyes dropped. Pages weighed more. Toasts didn't. The judge read each line. Her voice flat. Her hand steady. She stamped the last page. Sound sharp. Final. Stamp louder. Laughter gone. Sarah twisted her ring until it cut her skin. David looked down at his shoes. Neither moved. Neither spoke. Mark said once, "It was business." Emily whispered, "We didn't mean." I said nothing. Silence was enough. Angry? Yes. Show it? No. Forget? Never. I closed the folder. Lifted it once. Set it down. Their eyes followed. They thought the night was theirs. It wasn't. Papers didn't bury me. They buried themselves. The fridge hummed at home. The bulb flickered in the kitchen. A bottle rolled across the floor. The house waited. So did I. Hey, friend, subscribe. For you it's a second. For me, a big deal. Drop a comment with your city or country.